जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे। So today we start chapter 17. Who wants to read?
I
I
can
can. Okay, yeah.
17. Descent
Wait,
of
Mataji.
River huh?
Wait.
Descent of the River Ganges. Excuse me. Parakit said, "You have spoken of the auspicious rivers in Ilavarta Varsha. I would like to hear the most sacred of all rivers." I go back. The Holy Ganges. We celebrate her as Patita Pavani because she delivers all sinful beings who regularly bathe in her waters. Please describe her origins and glories. Your question delights my heart, said Sukadeva. He raised an arm, and in the sky appeared the image of a king on his knees. Before him, a gigantic Brahmin lifted his left foot, and a great gushing stream poured from the sky. Many sages covered their heads and cowered in anticipation of a deluge. When they saw that they were safe and dry and safe, they put their arms down and glanced at each other in embarrassment. Shukadeva said, "My dear king, once upon a time Lord Vishnu, who enjoys all sacrifices, appeared as a dwarf Brahmin at the sacrificial arena of Bali, the king of the demon races. Lord Vishnu then enlarged his form and by extending his left foot pierced the universal covering with the nail of his big toe. The transcendental pure waters of the casual ocean washed over his feet and entered this universe as Ganges rivers. Since reddish powder covers the Lord's lotus feet, the Ganges has a pinkish tint. For this reason, too, her waters remain pure despite washing away the sins of anyone who bathes in her. Later, she received other names like Janvi and Bhagarati. After thousand millenniums, her waters reached the topmost planet in the universe, Dhruvaloka, where she gained the name Vishnupadi. Shukadev waved his hands, and an image of a regal-looking person sprinkling his head with river water appeared. Shukadev said, "We have already spoken about King Dhruva, Uttapana's famous son, who is renowned as a great devotee because of his determined devotional service. Dhruva knows that the sacred Ganges washes Vishnu's lotus feet, and therefore to this day with great devotion he sprinkles its water on his head. Constantly thinking of Krishna with love and overwhelmed with feelings of longing for the Lord, Dhruva cries profusely, and his body constantly erupts in bliss. Shukadeva moved his hand, and an image of the Ganges falling and circulating among 7 planets beneath Dhruvaloka appeared in the sky. The 7 principal universal sages live on the 7 planets beneath Dhruvaloka. They are too aware of the glories of the Ganges river, and thus they daily splash her waters on their heads. They all consider that having access to the Ganges is the greatest wealth, the perfection of all of their austerities, and the best means of advancing in their spiritual lives. Parikit remember how some sages present believed that solving the problem of suffering was life's goal. He asked Shukadev if this was also what the seven principal sages believed. That is the goal of philosophers, not devotees, replied Shukadeva. To become free of material suffering, philosophers are ready to sacrifice their individuality and merge into Krishna's impersonal effulgence. Krishna's devotees have tasted the beauty of his loving service and only hanker for that continuously. They have no further interest in either material happiness or freedom from suffering. These seven sages are devotees for whom Krishna's loving service is life's perfection. Shukadev again waved his hand, and the image in the sky changed. Parakit and the sages saw innumerable celestial airplanes taking the Ganges water from the seven planets of the celestial sages and transporting it to the moon planet, from where it cascaded down to Brahma's abode atop Mount Sumeru. From there, the Ganges divided into four branches, which flow down the northern, eastern, southern, and western sides of the Sumeru. Shukadeva said, the four branches of the Ganges are known as Sita, Alakanda, Chakshu, and Bhadra. Eventually reach the ocean. Sita flows to the eastern side of Sumeru through the different surrounding mountain ranges into Bhadrarashva Varsha and eventually enters the saltwater ocean. Chakshu flows on the western side of Sumeru on the summit of the Mount Malavan into the province known as Ketumala and eventually it too merges into the saltwater ocean in the west. Bhadra flows down the northern side of Sumeru through the surrounding mountain ranges in the Kuruvarsha, also reaching the saltwater ocean in the north. Alakanda flows down the southern slopes of Sumeru through the southern mountain ranges into Bhartavarsha, and from there it enters the saltwater ocean in the south. My dear king, know for sure that anyone who bathes in any of these branches of the Ganges attains the same benefit as those who perform elaborate sacrifices like the Ashwamedha or Rajasuya. Someone else can be?
Okay, I can read. Into the saltwater ocean in the west. Bhadra flows down in the northern side of Sumeru through the surrounding mountain ranges into Kuruvarsha, also reaching the saltwater ocean in the west. In the north. Alaknanda flows down the southern slopes of Sumeru through the southern mountain ranges into Bharatvarsha, and from there it enters the saltwater ocean in the south. My dear king, know for sure that anyone who bathes in any of these branches of Ganges attains the same benefit as those who perform elaborate sacrifices, like the Ashwamedha or Rajasuya. Shukdeva circled his hand, and an aerial view of Sumeru's peak appeared in the sky. The image zoomed out, and gradually the peaks of surrounding mountains entered the picture. Many thin blue strips were gigantic, gig, the, gig, I'm not able to read the word, over their peaks, zigzagging over their peaks. Shukdeva said, many other rivers, both big and small, flow from the top of Mount Meru to the surrounding Varshas. These rivers are known as Meru's daughters because it is their origin. As I mentioned previously, of the 9 Varshas surrounding Mount Sumeru, only here in the Bharat Varsha does anyone accumulate sinful or pious reactions to their work. Highly elevated persons who are enjoying the results of their past piety occupy the occupy the other eight continents. Parikshit said, I thought that the pious go to the heavenly planets. There are three different heavenly regions, replied Shukdeva. The higher celestial planets, heavenly places in this earthly region, and heavenly planets in the lower regions of the universe. The earthly heavens are the other eight Varshas. Ilavrita, Ramyaka, Hiranmaya, Kuru, Hari, Kimpurusha, Ketumala, Bhadravarsha. When the pious souls exhaust their time in the celestial regions and return to earth, they first take birth in one of these eight heavenly Varshas in order to enjoy any remnant of their piety. The people inhabiting these heavenly Varshas live for 10,000 years according to the earthly calculation. In many other ways, also, they are almost like the gods. For example, they are each as strong as 10,000 elephants. Their bodies remain youthful and as sturdy as thunderbolts for the duration of their lives. Although they enjoy sex throughout their lives, the women only conceive one child in their last year of life. As the image in the sky slowly scanned from one Varsha to the next, Parikit and the sages saw countless beautifully decorated residences with exquisite gardens filled with flowers and fruit bearing trees. Between the majestic mountains demarcating the continents, borders were enormous. Clear water lakes filled the lotuses and lilies. Within them were many aquatic birds such as swans, ducks, water chickens, and cranes. Their calls mingled with the sound of bumblebees, whose delightful humming filled the air. Deer, wild cows, elephants, horses, and many other animals ambled about peacefully, chewing on lush grasses and drinking from the lakes. Shukdeva said, even the chief gods like Indra, accompanied by their servants, enjoy water sports with beautiful damsels in these lakes. Parikit said, is sex their sole business? Shukdeva smiled, no. They also worship Lord Narayana, who out of his great mercy manifests in one of his quadruple forms of Vasudeva, Sankarshana, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha in each of the nine Varshas. For example, in Ilavrita Varsha, the only male Lord Shiva worships Sankarshana. Parikit's eyes widened. Lord Shiva is the only male in the entire Ilavrita Varsha. I will tell you the history of how this came to be later, said Shukdeva. For now, suffice it to say that Lord Shiva's wife, goddess Durga, does not like any men to enter that region. And if they do, she immediately turns them into women. Let us return to my main point. Surrounded and served by 10 billion of goddess Durga's maid servants, Shiva always prays to Lord Sankarshan, his origin. Shukdeva lifted his hand, and in the sky appeared an image of Shiva, his pure white form dressed in only a tiger skin lion cloth. Around his neck hung a garland of skulls, and a serpent wrapped him. His neck was bluish, he had three eyes, and a crescent moon sat in his hair. He stood before the four armed forms of Krishna. Shiva said, O Supreme Lord Sankarshana, I offer you my respects. Respects. You are the unlimited transcendence, unknowable by those who are not your devotees. You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead and only venerable person and the reservoir of all excellences. Any opulence anyone displays comes from you alone. Your lotus feet provides all security to your devotees, whom you please by revealing to them one of your various forms. By such revelation, Lord, you deliver them from entanglement in material existence, while the non devotees remain trapped in the cycle of birth and death by your will. Pray, accept me as your eternal servant. Lord Sankarsana spoke in deep and resonant tones. Tell me your desire, my dear Shiva. Shiva bowed his head. My lord, I find I cannot control my anger. Sankarsana raised an eyebrow quizzically and Shiva continued. I have been considering this for some time, and I realize that when I contemplate this world, I experience attraction and repulsion, both of which degrade into anger. How can I help you? My lord, although you always survey this world for creation, maintenance, and destruction, you are never even slightly affected by lust, envy, or anger. Therefore, I have concluded that anyone who wants to become free of these must take guidance from you. Sankarsana smiled. Many would question the wisdom of your decision, my dear Shiva. On what grounds? Asked Shiva. So, anyone else would like to read?
Okay, I'll read. Look at my eyes. See how they are tinged red. People say that this is proof enough that I am intoxicated or angry. Shiva frowned. Only those with impure materialistic vision would speak like this. Intoxicated or angry, in illusion they think you are like them. A small smile played around Sankarshna's ruby red lips. Consider carefully, my dear Shiva. You know, there are many rumors about me. For example, I am always accused of being lusty. Shiva snorted. Lusty? My lord, you are surely testing me. I know that when Kalia's wives touched your lotus feet, they became filled with lust and could not continue their worship. Although you knew how they felt, you remained unaffected. Indeed, nothing agitates you. No sensible person will fail to worship you, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sankarsana held up his right hand in blessing and disappeared. Shiva turned to Durga and her many maid servants. You should know that the great sages accept Lord Vishnu as the original creator, the cosmic maintainer, and the ultimate destroyer of everything. He does all this with no personal interest. His opulence and power are unlimited. Listen to this minor example of his greatness. In his serpent incarnation, Shesha, he holds all the universes on his hoods. Each universe feels no heavier than a mustard seed to him. Therefore, everyone who actually desires perfection should worship him. Goddess Durga twisted a strand of her dark locks around her finger. I thought Lord Vishnu only maintains, and that Brahma creates, and you destroy the universe. Shiva chuckled. Beloved wife, my father, Lord Brahma, is certainly a great personality. He is the personified mode of passion, which causes intelligence. The entire material universe is Brahma's body. I also am powerful. In my form as Rudra, I manifest the false ego, create the other gods, the five elements, and the senses. Despite all this, I worship Narayana, the Supreme Lord, who is greater than any of us. We are like tethers, birds under his control. Try to understand. It is only by his grace that we Guna avatars create, maintain, and annihilate the material world. Therefore, I always offer my respectful obeisance unto that Supreme Being. Durga folded her palms and bowed her head respectfully as her husband continued. My dear wife, only Lord Narayana can deliver from bondage those bewildered by you, the powerful material energy. Although I preside over the mode of ignorance, it sometimes affects even me. Hence, I always offer my respectful obeisance to Narayana, who is the ultimate cause of creation and annihilation. The image in the sky faded. Although he could not see them in the darkness of night, Parikshit sensed that the skeptics in the audience were beginning to accept that the ultimate truth is the Supreme Person, Lord Vishnu or Narayana. Yet he knew that many still doubted that Krishna was the origin of the Vishnu forms. He looked with awe at Shukadeva. If anyone could convince them, it was this great soul.
Any comments?
I was thinking when he's explaining and then moving his hands and showing. I wish to be there to see that.
Yes.
Magic. Ta-da! They showed. I remembered that it was Bhakti Siddhanta, is it? One of our acharyas, I forget who it was. Some mystic person was visiting town, and all these disciples were excited because some mystic guy was able to fly around with a broomstick. And all these disciples were really flustered, and then they came to the Guru and said, Guru Maharaj, there's this mystic in the town. He's flying around with a broomstick. And then our Acharya, I can't remember who it was. I think it was Gaur Kishodas Babaji Maharaj. Is it? I think Gaur Kishodas Babaji Maharaj. And then he said, it's not a big deal. Relax. And then all these disciples, instead of doing their duty in the ashram, they went again to go and see this fellow flying around with the broomstick. They came back and said, Guru Maharaj is so amazing. Guru Maharaj, this fellow is flying around in the broomstick. All the villagers are looking at him. And then the Guru Maharaj again said, I told you it's not a big deal. Why you're making such a big deal out of it? Go do your service. Go cook for Krishna. Go and do your deity worship. Go clean the altar. And then they were like, but Guru Maharaj, this person is flying around in a broomstick. And then I think the Guru was looking like, these disciples, they just don't get it. So then he just took a little, these toothpicks with neem sticks. So he just took that and he just put it like between his leg, and he just started to fly around the ashram. And all these disciples were just shocked and stunned, and they were like, we never knew our Guru Maharaj could do that. And then he came down and he said, I told you it's not a big deal. Go and serve Krishna. So, I don't know. I just remembered that great personalities like Shukdev Goswami, they have mystic powers to show cosmic creation and show amazing things, but they don't usually show off. They just sit there and serve Krishna. That's more important. Guess what's the other story? The Chintamani, the touchstone, right? The story of touchstone. Anybody likes to narrate it? How touchstone was not a big deal. Nobody? Okay, fine, if you're not interested.
Mataji, please say, I don't know this story.
Ashka doesn't know the touchstone story. So who wants to tell the touchstone story. Anybody? Okay, I will say. So this is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhupada, so fourth canto. So basically, there was a, let's see, where does this stone start? Where does the story start? Very interesting story. Let me find the beginning. Okay, so there was one Brahmana when he went to worship Shiva and Mahadev. You remember Mahadev, right? Whenever you worship Mahadev, he easily fulfills your desires. And then he, whatever we ask, he gives us. For example, you remember the Bhasmasura, he went and prayed to Lord Shiva. Then when
Yes.
Shiva said, what do you want? And he said, whenever I put my hand on somebody's head, they should burst into flames. It's like, what a wish. So Mahadev gave that wish without thinking that, what would happen with this boon. So there was this Brahmana who wanted a benediction, but this Brahmana was a very wise and not like the Bhasmasura. So this Brahmana basically told Krishna, Mahadev, I want the best benediction. I don't know what it is, but you give me the best benediction. And then Mahadev said, oh, very good, go and ask Sanatan Goswami, because at that time he was a very great personality, and this is contemporary story of the Brahmana who lived at that time. So then he said, go, and this is a very great saint of Vaishnavism, you go. And then Sanatan Goswami was a sannyasi, right? He was living as a sannyasi with very little possessions. He didn't have anything, much, just his clothing, etc. So when the Brahmana approached Sanatan Goswami, told him, oh, what do you want? He said, I want the most, I want the most precious thing. And then Sanatan Goswami told him, oh, please go there. There is in the garbage there is a touchstone. Touchstone is a stone that if you take that stone and you touch anything, it will become gold. It will turn magically. If you go and touch a stone, it will become gold. If you touch a table, it will become gold. So whatever you touch, it will become gold. So, and it's not just at one time. You can take that stone, touch anything, and it will all turn to gold. Wow, magical transformations tool, right? Basically, you can shift anything into gold, anything. And then Brahmana went, and then he was like, okay, great. So he got that, and then he went and he thought, wait a minute. And then he looked at Sanatan Goswami. Sanatan Goswami was peaceful, sitting there. He had thrown the touchstone in the near water nearby, right? And then when the Brahmana had come back, the Brahmana came back to Sanatan Goswami, and after contemplation, and his contemplation was that if Sanatan Goswami had thrown this touchstone in the garbage, there must be something more valuable than this touchstone with Sanatan Goswami. Otherwise, why he would throw it in the garbage? So then he went to Sanatan Goswami and then he said, please give me something more precious than this, because this cannot be the most precious thing. And then Sanatan Goswami initiated him. And so through Lord Shiva, the Brahmana got Krishna, the most precious thing, in this way. He got purity of consciousness. So this is what happens. Mahadev always brings devotees to Krishna somehow or another. Okay, so this is...
Wow, nice. Thank you, Mataji, for sharing.
Really, very nice.
Thank you.
touchstone.